Okay, so we're out here in the Santa Lucia Conservancy and we're looking for some wild pigs. I'm talking about the wild boar pig hybrid thing that was brought in by eccentric Canadian millionaire George Gordon Moore back in the 1920s. And so he came out here to Carmel in Monterey County and bought a ranch the size of 20,000 acres. That's the size of Manhattan. And so he wanted the whole life, the whole rancho thing.
He is rumored, there's no confirmation of this, to be the inspiration for Jay Gatsby in Fitzgerald's book.
All for what? To entertain his friends like William Randolph Hearst, newspaper magnate, or Hollywood stars that came up to the Bay Area, or international polo teams. And so to entertain all of those people, what are you gonna do? They're going to go hunting. And so he brought in the European boar. But then in 1929, the stock market crash hit. Great Depression ensued, and George Gordon Moore was left broke. And so a couple decades later, his whole estate, his ranch, was turned into the Santa Lucia Preserve, which is what we see behind us. And his pigs, they escaped. These pigs are now a ticking time bomb, having spread from Monterey County to practically every California county. In George Gordon Moore's correspondence, he told his friend how his pigs have reached San Simon in the span of about 10 years. And California's climate doesn't really make things better. It's what the CA Department of Fish and Wildlife call a hog heaven. And so, how are we able to manage that population?
How are we able to manage wild pigs? I mean, there's a number of management strategies, but honestly, the approach that's been taken in a lot of California is no management. I'm Dr. Brian Woodward. I'm the conservation ecologist for the Santa Lucia Conservancy. One of our grazing technicians just last week observed a mother and between 5 or 6 piglets on the landscape, just kind of rooting around. Actually seeing them is very rare, and that's just because of the hours that they're out at night. So we have camera traps all over the preserve, and the times that they're most active are between like right after it gets dark to like 4 a.m. in the morning. So you'd have to be out at the right time to catch them. So I mean, they're filling a kind of a unique niche in the habitat, you know, because there's not a lot of other species with the behavior that they have, looking for tubers and rooting in the landscape. So while they're certainly competing for resources such as water and plants and food and all the different things that there's no direct competitor for the exact same resource that they're utilizing on the landscape.
Predators? Natural predators? Not really?
So, I mean, no natural predators in this environment, but the predators that go after a wild boar or a wild pig in this environment typically is a mountain lion or a bear. You know, those are really the only 2 predators that are present.
If I'm a mountain lion and I have a choice to go after some of the various creatures that are in this habitat, to tussle with a pig it would be quite an experience. I'm Jonathan Kadianagi. I'm the Parks, Trails, and Recreation Director for the City of Lafayette. I've worked for the city for 24 years, and we would occasionally hear about a pig at somebody's back fence, the dog barking, and oh my gosh, I saw a feral pig at my back fence. But then really what we were seeing was the drought was driving the pigs down from the hills. I would say if I took into account the calls that I get just locally here, I know that there's well over 100 at any given time. It's sort of peak pig time now that it's returned throughout just kind of this area. The way I like to think about it is if I had to go and dig up all my food with my face, I would probably choose the softest, nicest place to find that food. And if they followed the water down, the softest, nicest place to find that food before the rain is often a landscaped front yard.
I guess you mentioned, does fencing work for like such a large pack of pigs?
Yeah, so what we were told was that if these 300-pound plus animals, if they want to get into somewhere, they will get into that place. We went with a chain link fence around the fields. before we were able to install that, that's a very expensive fix.
Like how expensive?
For the parts to go all the way around the playing fields and build a new fence. I think that was, so our field repair and the fencing was $94,000 to do that.
Wow.
This is one of those instances where there's a clash between residents and this animal that would be invasive in any environment, even when they're in the open spaces. I think it's one of those topics that's difficult to tackle or difficult to talk about, because everybody really cares about our environment, and pigs are an animal that that people like as well. So it can be a difficult topic.
But now, State Senator Bill Dodd from the Napa Valley area recently proposed legislation that would lower the cost for annual hunting permits for wild boar. I think it went from $30 to $15. And is this really an effective way to cull the population of pigs, to make them less destructive, to lower their numbers?
One pig would have like 30 offspring a year?
Even more than that, and they can actually have two or more litters per year. So that's why, in some senses, management guidelines that say that, shooting individual pigs doesn't have a huge impact on the population is probably correct.